Awesome. Got it. Awesome.
Well, welcome back to the Flipside podcast, where we talk everything upside down and inside out. And we have Vanduncan Phillips back in the
Oh,
building. Our episode 3. It has been a while.
it's been a while. It's been a while.
And when Vanduncan and I get together, it is a good time.
Yep.
And we've been wanting to do this for a while. Van Duncan has a lot more information when it comes to alien cover-ups, UFO cover-ups, alien information in general, and a bunch of other stuff that I'm just going to let him say everything possible because I feel like I need more information on this. I've been slacking on my alien
Gotcha.
coverage, and so I
Gotcha.
needed a correspondent. He's coming from outside space.
Yeah, I come from outside space because that's where my head is at. It's always thinking out. Or is it in? Because depending on how you look at it, are they coming from outside the space or in a higher dimension? But we'll get into that
Mm.
later.
Yeah.
So most recently in UFO news to keep us on like up to date, David Grush. I don't know if you heard anything about this whistleblower who has staged a formal complaint with the United States Congress about the lack of oversight that is happening in the UFO UAP community. So David Grush,
I
who
know
is
that
he?
name, but
He is a
yeah, go.
I'll explain it. Yeah, David Grush.
Yeah.
He confidently in July of 2021 confidentially provided UAP related classified information to the Department of Defense, DoD, and Inspector General, IG. At that time, Mr. Grush communicated classified information about the improper withholding and slash concealment of classified materials from the U.S. Congress by certain IC elements. IC means intelligent community. There's going to be a
Mm.
lot of acronyms in this. Mr. Grush believes that his identity and the fact that his UAP related communications with the Department of Defense Inspector General have been disclosed to individuals slash entities outside the DoD, and he has suffered retribution and reprisals related to that. This is all official documented stuff. This is all stuff that I can literally pull up right now that you can see firsthand accounts of exactly what he is saying. I'm just going to do that right now. So what happened is that David Grush, he was a U.S. Military individual commander, and he was not a UFO person. A lot of these people that are doing these things, he's not a UFO person. Let me get that very clear. He is someone that worked in the military, very much was like, oh, I wanted to be someone in service. I wanted to serve my country. He got his degree in physics through the United States military as well. So he's also a scientist. You know what I mean? Someone that does not think, oh, I'm here for like investigativeness. He's not that type of person. That eventually got him transferred in to a bunch of different departments. And over the time, as you go up higher and higher to the ranks into the intelligence community, he got to the point of the highest levels of access and secrecy. So his job essentially was to have like oversight on these black budget jobs, these black budget things that are like, oh, we wanted to know what was going on in I was gonna say like North Korea, but like we know what's going on there. Like, you know what I mean? Say if we had like a secret program there, he's someone that'd be oversighting that and being like, where's this money coming from? Why are you using this for? I need to see that it's actually being used for said like spying on North Korea. He has found over his course of his time working at the UAP task force, which again, all of this can be verified and looked up, which makes it even more scarier that he's lodging a complaint, but we'll get to that. He has said that over the course of his time, there has been UFOs crashed, retrieved by the United States government since the 30s. There is, in fact, sometimes he said pilots that have crashed. That happens what happens when you things like that. And that we have these exotic materials that are being withheld from the public knowledge of everybody inside like Congress and to the American people. Like there is a group of people inside the United States government that are hiding these UFPs. Period. Flat out. This is what David Grush is saying and alleging. This just happened last week. And he's coming forward and saying this. So now, since he has done that, Congress is taking it seriously, supposedly, and are now going to start a informal hearing into what he has alleged. And he, like I said, he started this back in 2021, and we're just now hearing about it now. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Let that sink in. Let that sink in.
The
Yeah.
problem with everything alien and CIA cover up and documents, all the things that bother me include the timeline in my own head because I'm sure you can probably resonate with this.
Mm.
When you look into all of this information for all of the years that we have, it feels almost like what is new and what is old
Yeah,
information because
yeah.
now it's like we're picking up all of these redacted bits and pieces from
Mm-hmm.
old documents and we're
Yes.
finally getting a yes, that is correct on this information that we've been questioning for years.
Yeah.
And then that's where in my head I get all a bit discombobulated because I'm like, what is new and what is old? It feels
Yeah.
like we know this, but
Yeah.
at the same time, it has never actually been solidified
Yeah.
in a public document to say the least, or to at
Yeah.
least have somebody of that high of a caliber come out and say, I have a complaint with the way that we're doing things. Like uh, before, if there were any formal complaints, all I knew are those people then were no longer alive.
Yeah. No,
Allegedly.
absolutely.
So
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's one of those things where like I heard from so and so heard from so, and it's like, uh, who are you? What are you talking
yeah.
about? Do you still working here? Are you not? Are you like in your 80s right now? Are you about to be like gone from the military and like you used to work in like secret programs? No, no, this guy active, left, and like also his attorney is the inspector general who left because yes, this is another thing we just found out. Shout out to the guys Jeremy Corbell and George Knapp for the Weaponized podcast. They do a great job. They're very very thorough investigative journalists, um, talking about this issue, and they were saying especially that the inspector general that was working with David Grush as his defense attorney, who used to work for the United States government, because active military personnel, specifically for whistleblowers, the inspector general, they dropped him. So the inspector generals, they dropped him because they were like, oh, you're no longer military. But the inspector general left with David Grush to be like, I'm still with this guy. I'm still sticking with him because what he is
Wow.
saying is so interesting and so it's so potent. You know what I mean? Again, this guy is at the highest levels of secrecy in the military, and he is the was person, the one of the few people that had the clearance to see all of these programs, and says, hey, I've spoken to people that have seen this down craft, that have I know that we have these things X, Y, and Z, and like it's being it's being hidden. What are we gonna
Yeah.
do about it? You know what I mean? He's like, it feels like it's my civic duty to do so. You know, being a whistleblower is not something that anybody wants. You know what I mean? Like whistleblowers end up getting hurt. I mean, whistleblowers get retaliation against. You know, so it's fascinating, and like for people to write this off, you can't, because
Mm.
like, do you want to think a psyop would let somebody you want to think a psyop would let somebody spill the beans about a psyop, and the psyop is like, oh, UFOs exist? Okay, so the psyop is what we're telling people that they exist so we can not pay attention to other things that are going on. It's like, how does that work? You know what I mean? What does he gain by saying, hey, the United States government, there's people inside the government that is hiding UFOs? What does he gain from this? You know what I mean? Like there's no way you can make this into a psyop. So like anytime if that ever comes up, it's just it won't make any sense. You know what I mean? Like what does he gain? What does he gain from saying, hey, um, this technology, it could be beneficial if we learned how to open it up to like more people, to more scientists, besides like the six people that are like hiding it. You know what I mean? Like what does he
Yeah.
gain? You know what I mean? We can't just write off what he is saying, and that's like the scariest part of all of that, is that he is saying that this stuff is being hidden.
But isn't that funny? So my brain is so whacked from
Mm-hmm.
the past few years
Yeah.
because I also, well, I say the past few years, but it's been ever since I came
Mm-hmm.
upon anything alien.
Yeah.
My brain was so mixed up with everything because it's like, again, we've known and then we
Hmm.
haven't known
Yeah.
really. But
Yeah.
if you believe, you believe. And so now, what a funny time
Yeah.
to finally have somebody come out because not just me, I know tons of people, like you're saying, like
Hmm.
anybody who could assume that this is a psyop for
Yeah.
any reason, we've been so whacked out in our minds that like that's where we're going with it
Yeah.
instead of actually believing
Yeah.
this is real. And
Yeah.
I'm saying this as a joke really for myself because at this point I do really put all that stuff behind me.
Hmm.
Like I can look at clear data and see what's happening,
Yeah.
but it is so interesting to me that I haven't felt more blown away by
Yeah.
this information.
Yeah.
That's
And
what's
it,
interesting.
because
Yeah.
it's surreal because it's like I kind of waiting for like my personal view on this. Like I'm kind of waiting for the other foot to drop. You know what I mean? So to be
Yeah.
like, this guy's not verified. It's like the problem is like, no, this guy is verified.
Yeah. Yeah.
This guy is verified. The woman that first wrote in this article is one of the ones that worked at the New York Times that broke the other UFO article back in like 2017. You know what I mean? So
Mm,
like, and the New York
yeah.
Times also had a chance to break open this story several years ago, but they didn't. You know what I mean? So it's
Right.
like you, there's so many things that it's like, oh, wait a second, wait a second.
Yeah.
He's right. He's truly this military official, this career military man in his intelligence agency for years. You know what I mean? And he had access to all of these programs, and he's saying, "Hey, there is an issue here." That's flat out what he is saying. You know,
Yeah.
and then there's
Yeah.
still the UFO and UAP task force that he was a part of that. You know what I mean? He was part of that stuff, and like that's verified as well. The fact that there even was a government agency tasked with UFO and unidentified aerial phenomena in the first place, folks, is should be the part that's like everyone's eyes are going like, what do you mean? What
Yeah.
we're funding this? This is not a joke. This is not a
Yeah.
private organization. This is an actual government agency looking into these things that are happening. You know?
Yeah.
Uh,
And I don't mean to cut you off, but
no,
just
no, you're
thinking
good.
about this too, I feel like at the rate of
Mhm.
rapid acceleration that we're able to share information, it's almost like we can't keep doing this whole like, oh no, it's fake,
Yeah,
it's real, it's fake, it's real.
yeah,
It's like
yeah.
at this point, because we are becoming so much more connected in every aspect of
Hmm.
life,
Yeah,
it's just happening finally. I
yeah,
think that that maybe is why the New York Times reporter can finally write these things that you know in the past since 2017 probably couldn't come out with
yeah.
because like oh the public wasn't ready or whatever the excuse was. I think now at this point it's like we can handle it as much as people don't think that we maybe can. I understand the whole like oh you can't tell the public something without creating panic and fear, but maybe because of the pandemic and like we've now
Hmm.
gone through that public fear, it's like let's just know everything. Maybe let's pass that threshold and just know as much information as possible because I think that's all we've ever been wanting and been asking for from the beginning.
Yeah,
It's
that's
like
always
just tell us like we can actually handle it. We promise.
yeah.
Just keep it
This
going.
and that's the thing is that I think that's the reason why also like that whistleblower protections have just come out. So now people are more feeling
Oh,
like
it
they can
did.
come through. Yeah. So that's another reason too, is that a lot of it
Oh,
beforehand, like people didn't really feel safe that they could come
this makes
forward.
so much
You know,
more sense.
so
I
that's why
was
we're
not
also,
aware of that.
and that I think also happened around the 2017 timeframe. So now that's where we're getting
Mm,
more soldiers and coming forward and being like, yeah, this happened. This is happening. So now they're not feeling so crazy about it. So because we're now destigmatizing it. And again,
yeah.
why was it like that in the first place? If this David Grush guy saying we had crashes back in the 30s. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So this entire time, 70 plus years, the United States government has been lying to its own people.
Oh, well,
Yeah, that's the problem. That's
yeah.
that's what that's the problem. Like hence what I'm saying. Like this guy's a whistleblower, and like you as the conspiracy theorist, you're gonna be like, oh well, he's just a psyop, bro. The psyops don't work that way.
At this point, I'm just bored with psyops because I'm just like,
they don't
just
they don't make any
tell
sense.
me.
Yeah,
Like
just tell
nothing
me.
new has come out with the psyops even. So I'm like,
Yeah,
we're, you know, like,
it's like what are you all talking about? And like also this other guy has just recently come forward. Um, his name is Jay Stratton, and this guy was in the background for numerous UFO files for a long, long time. And he was one of the original people that worked at Skinwalker Ranch during the Robert Bigelow era. And if you know
Ooh.
anything about that, he was also tasked with, he's the one that came up with UAPs.
Right,
This
because
Jay
we
Stratton
so
guy. Yeah.
needed to change the name.
No, we did, because
We
people were
did?
not listening. No, 100%. Because he brings us up. There's like he I was trying to get away from the stigma of UFOs.
Okay, okay, I see that. I see
You know what
that.
I
See,
mean?
me being
So
a
like
UFO lover, I'm just like, we are always got
exactly.
it, but I have to, you know,
But you get
not,
yeah, but you got to realize everyone that
yeah,
you even it's like saying like, oh, you believe in crystals
yeah,
to someone,
yeah,
you know what I mean, in the military, but like, oh, I was like saw a UFO, and people are like, you're crazy, you're crazy. You know
right,
what I mean? They
right,
immediately try to gaslight you. That's why he was trying to get into UAP. But Jay Stratton, this guy was also someone that had the clearance to go into every highest level department and plant. And he was the one initially. Jay Stratton was the initial one to be like, hey, these programs, if you need money for it, you have to go through me.
wow,
He was the guy. All these programs they had to go through Jay Stratton, and this guy was the one at Skinwalker Ranch that was like there during the time in the '90s with Robert Bigelow's people. If anybody needs to know anything about that, they can look this up about from NIDS, the National Institute of Aerospace Academy of Science, and those Discovery Science, and those guys were a privately funded thing. Robert Bigelow was a millionaire. Almost I think about a billionaire. But he was doing a whole. He bought this property called Skinwalker Ranch back in the Uinta Basin in Utah, and for like 20 plus years, they're doing scientific research on that to figure out why this was such a UFO, alien, werewolf like hotspot, and why that happened. Conclusively, after all that study, they have yet to figure out anything because all the studies that they've done could not be duplicated. This is
wow,
20 plus years. This guy Jay Stratton was there for all of that. You know what I mean?
yeah,
And this guy is also someone that's like, I have no interest. You know what I mean? No interest. He only got into it because he was someone that could be held very respectable because he's like, I do my job and I only do my job. You know what I mean? I don't say
right.
anything. I don't go outside of that. So this Jay Stratton guy, I only bring him up because he also came forward recently, and he was recently on Skinwalker Ranch, talking about his experiences there and some of those stories about how like there was like portals and doorways and things of that nature. And again, this is a U.S. military command saying these things.
Yeah,
What?
yeah,
What? What? What do you mean, military man? What are you talking about? Talking about ghosts and UFOs? A ranch? What?
mm,
Is that the government is spending money on? You're talking about these things? These things are real, 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 really
yeah,
real. You know,
yeah,
this is what's happening now. This is the type of disclosure that we're getting. And again, this is just the tiniest of bit, because
yeah,
what we are seeing, a lot of it is still 100% classified. You know what I mean? So much of it is classified. We can't even begin to fathom what they have. You know what I mean? And
right.
that's the scary thing. We are nowhere close yet, but we are getting somewhere.
So I've always thought back, not to bring up the X-Files again, but of course it was going to happen.
No, let's go for it.
I always think back to,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Chris Carter, I think always had some sort of intellect. I think he
Insider
had a
knowledge,
secret.
yeah.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
he had insider knowledge for sure.
Mm-hmm.
This goes back again to like maybe collective consciousness. Are we manifesting these things? But
Mm-hmm.
I really always believed when the X-Files went into the whole super soldier
Mm-hmm.
thing, like
Yeah.
that's something that I'm sure is like an undisclosed uh, uh thing that's happening, and for good reason, because if we are able to
Yep.
build people that can't get killed, then yeah, that's something that you probably don't want other nations to know. Like there's things like
Yeah.
that that are just like the basics of like being a alien person, just like, you know,
Yeah.
I use X-Files as like the basics.
It's no, but it is like a great example of like where you want to like dip your toes in, you know, if that
Right.
makes sense.
Right. Like
Um,
it's got a little bit of every concept kind of sprinkled in there, and you
it
can take
does.
a concept and run with it. And I think that like looking at all of those things that they
Mhm.
touched on, it's so real as to why that wouldn't be disclosed, and something that it's probably in there somewhere. There's
Yeah.
something in there.
There's something in there. There's always something in there that gets to spark the curiosity.
Yeah.
I just pulled up like Jay Stratton's uh little biography. So again,
Yeah, please.
this is from the Boys of Weaponized. If you want, again, these guys do a whole interview talking about Jay Stratton on their third episode. Amazing, amazing. So Jay Stratton as a career intelligence officer who worked for the Office of Naval Intelligence, the Defensive Warning Office of the DIA, the Department of Intelligence, and in other sensitive national security programs. He specialized in reverse engineering technologies, threats, and future scenarios. In 2007, he was recruited to consult with the DIA-funded investigation known as ALSAP, Advanced Aerospace Weapons System Applications Program, a contract awarded to a private military company affiliated with the Bigelow Aerospace. Remember I said Robert Bigelow owned Skinwalker Ranch. The first case he investigated was the now famous Tic Tac UFO incident. After ALSAP ended, Stratton worked closely with Lou Elizondo, a successor effort known as ATIP. ATIP is another advanced aerospace technology, blah, 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 blah. Just another program investigating UFOs, which focused exclusively on military encounters with UFO. After Elizondo left government, Stratton was asked to form a new program that was eventually formalized by the Congress as the UAP Task Force. That is currently what is on right now, the UAP Task Force. During those years, he created a massive classified briefing presentation that was delivered to the Pentagon officials, intelligence agencies, defense contractors, and members of Congress. Stratton left the government in 2021 and is currently employed by Radiance Technologies. So that is why he left 2021. So that is why now he can say these things. But during that whole time, he was working, as you heard, in different places at very high up levels, like the highest of levels. He had the clearance to do these things. And this man, I'm telling you, is saying X, Y, and Z is happening at this ranch. X, Y, and Z is happening in these spaces. I am being briefed on and working with government agencies to be like, what is the threat happening in the next 50 years from such and such radio wave technology, for instance? You know what I mean? Ooh. What do we do about that? You know? Right. That's the whole reason why any of this is even relevant in the first place, is that a lot of these people come from military backgrounds, and the government is like, oh, wait a second. Can this affect us? Can this affect us militarily? Can this affect us national security wise? So that's why this even comes up. And also the fact that there are things that they can't figure out, like the Tic Tac video. Who is that coming from?
Ooh, what is that video? What is the
Tic Tac video? You've seen the Tic Tac video of the black and white video of that UFO pilot going, like, oh, what is that? What is that?
That's what they're calling it? I didn't realize it had a name. Okay.
Yeah, they're calling it a Tic Tac video. And that's just like from one. That's not even like the whole. The funny thing is, like, that's not even the whole thing. That whole set of footage is from like a couple of Navy warships. You know what I mean? These are Navy warships that are seeing these things on radar, and there was like over 100 of them. You know what I mean? That came through like a couple of day period, and that showed up on their screen. That showed up on their radar. A bunch of people have seen it. A bunch of military people have seen it. And the what we've seen are like 2-3 videos, like 30-second clips. Like not even. You know what I mean? And not only that, most people don't even know how to read that radar in the first place, that black and white infrared radar. Like what we're looking at, like literally looking at it. It took me a long time to be like, what am I actually looking at? You know what I mean? Because I was like, FLIR camera. I'm like, what is it, FLIR? I was like, Googling, and I was like, oh, it's like infrared. And you know what I mean? So it's only showing up things that have heat. These only showing up, you know what I mean?
Oh,
like,
I see.
Exactly my point.
It wasn't visually showing up. It was because it was.
No, it was visually showing up, like people could see it, but like on our radar screens, on what you're looking at, like the black and white footage, it looks like that because it's like it's not a HD camera. You know what I mean? It's a camera to be like, oh, this is a missile shooting off in the middle of the night. We can see the black line of the rocket because it's like cold, and then you see the white flare of the smoke. That's how you would see it on this like an infrared camera. You know what I mean? That's what you would look at. But on that video of the Tic Tac where it's like spinning or whatnot, it doesn't have any of that. And if you look up in the corner of it, it shows you how fast the wind is going, and it's going against the wind and it's rotating. That's impossible.
Oh.
Yeah, you see what I'm saying now? Like that's what I'm saying. Like they don't explain that in these videos. They're just like, oh, look at this crazy thing that like a UFO people have seen. It's like, no. Do you understand what we're looking at? You know what I mean? Like
I didn't.
If we don't have the, and exactly, I didn't either until recently. And I was like, if we don't have the basis for that and no one's explaining it, we'll just wash it away, and that's the issue. You know what I mean? Like the issue is like if we don't have a basic knowledge of what we are looking at and learning, how are we ever going to advance ourselves? But that's right. You know what I mean? But that's part of the whole thing of like getting more people on it, more like more news agencies being able to talk about it, you know?
Yeah.
Oh, it's a fun video. So the video that just came out a couple months ago now, from a military base called 29 Palms,
Mm.
had
Very
a
close to Joshua Tree. We are very close to there.
oh, so you know about you, so you know where 29 Palms
Yeah,
is.
I know 29 Palms. I've stayed there. And
Mm-hmm.
when you go into the town, it's
Mm-hmm.
interesting because you'll drive and it'll be like military haircuts,
Yeah.
299 or whatever. Like everything
Mm-hmm.
is based on the military. So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It has a lot of it's like it's the huge military base out there.
Yeah.
And back in 2021, there was a mass UFO sighting.
Mm.
You ever heard of the Phoenix Lights?
I've heard of that.
You know that triangle V-shaped formation of
Yeah.
lights that happened in the sky over Arizona in 1997?
Oh,
Uh,
I know about I know that I've seen that formation
yeah,
in different circumstances, but I didn't
yes,
know about the 1997 specific
huge, 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 huge,
one.
huge, huge.
Okay.
Yeah, give me access to share this and to share my screen so I can
Oh, have
pull
I
it up.
not given you access? Oh my
Give
gosh.
me access. Need access,
Oh,
folks.
multiple participants can share simultaneously.
Oh
I
yeah,
think that'll work.
oh
There
yeah,
you go.
no, thanks. Amazing. This is here we go. Now now I'm
Love it.
sharing. So this is gonna be a fun little thing here.
Okay.
This right here is the
Ah,
original footage.
yes. Yes.
Yes, simple, right? You're like, what is this? Like, it looks like a bunch of orbs.
Yeah.
You know, and
Yeah.
you can kind of see it like a blurry and it's like crappy. And you're like, okay,
Yeah.
like
Classic.
classic,
Yeah.
classic. This is 1997, but
Okay.
also the important thing is that this was filmed over the city of Phoenix, and this was witnessed by hundreds of people.
Mm,
The
hmm.
news had it. You know what I mean? The
Yeah.
town, the mayor of the town came out and was just like, "Oh, we're getting visited by a little green man dressed up in like a Martian costume." You know what I mean? Because he didn't know what to say. You know what I mean? This
Right.
happened. This
I also love how
happened.
the tagline of this video is footage slightly cleaned up.
Yeah, yeah. Slowly, but again, it's 97. Well, you can't really do too much. This happened.
Wow.
130%. This happened, and they haven't
Yeah.
been able to explain it. You know what I mean? People would
Yeah.
be like, "Oh, it's flares," and I'm going to show you a video with flares later. Let me show you what they look like. It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. The
Oh,
reason,
I
yeah,
love how they just look like they exploded a little bit.
yeah, right. But that's again, that could just be
Yeah.
camera quality because they're
Oh, yeah,
shaking.
true.
You know what I mean? Like a lot
True.
of this, we got to take into a real account. Like this is the lights themselves in the air over the city, and then think about this: for to be seen that far away, uh,
Right.
it has to be huge,
Yeah.
huge.
Yeah,
Lights
that's
that
true.
has to be huge. And look at this. See this little photo right here?
Yeah.
This has happened over 29 Palms in 2021. What does that look like?
I'm so jealous that I wasn't there. Like, just missed it.
There's no way.
Like,
Yeah, but this is from footage from one of the uh 29 Palms. This is from one of the soldiers on the base. There's over 50 plus soldiers. Saw the exact same thing that happened back in 97. They said there's an
mm,
outline, there's like a audio every day. I'll have to send it to you. But they're talking about like, oh my goodness, there's an outline. You can see a shape of this. There's a bunch of
right.
videos of this. These same soldiers are talking about all over this. And this is what a video that they have where they shot with flares. Those two little white dots, those are flares.
Okay.
Yeah, these are little flares.
So this is showing us the difference between flares and the what
Yes,
we saw in the other videos. Okay.
yes. Those two little dots are flares that are falling right now. Towards the bottom of the screen where it says weaponized, that's where you're gonna see these little dots right here. Little dots, those are
Mm.
the lights. See, completely different. And then those
Wait,
little
so they're
dots,
happening at the same time though?
yeah, they shot these flares up to try to illuminate this thing.
Oh, they
And then,
shot them up. Okay, okay.
yes,
I
because it
see.
was
I
over a
see.
military base, Alex.
Right.
This is over
Right.
a military base. These
I'm
people are
just
like,
trying to get it. I'm like, what?
yeah, this is over a military base. What do you
Yeah.
like? What? What do you mean? Military
Yeah.
base? These soldiers are not drunk. These soldiers are not high. This is
But
over
see that
50 plus military individuals being like, what is that?
but see that's what I love is like if aliens have this sense of humor
Mm-hmm.
that we like I personally believe that they would have, it'd be like, haha. Like
Uh-huh.
we're gonna go right over the military base and
Yeah.
say hello,
We're gonna
you
go say
know?
hello. What are they gonna
Yeah.
do? Stop us? They can't.
Right.
You
Or
know
it
what I
was
mean?
the way, to be like, okay, these are some of our quote unquote top intel to like get this message
Yeah.
across, and so let's go to the military base. So
Yeah.
it's interesting. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's fascinating. It's like my. We are so we're so limited. We're so limited.
We
You
are.
know? Yeah, we're so
Like,
very limited. Like we think we have the advanced capabilities, and it's like, yeah, you have things like this. The thing is, like, some of those soldiers they were like quoted saying, like, the thing is about the size of like 3 football fields. You know what I mean?
that's how big that is.
Yes, you can
See,
understand.
that's
That's what I'm
that's what
trying to
we
say.
can never grasp from those videos is
Videos,
how
yeah, you can't grasp
large
that,
that
but like the
is.
Phoenix Lights, you can grasp that because it's over the city. You know what I mean? It's
Right.
huge, huge. These people
Yeah.
are not close, and they can see all of these lights over the entire city.
That's what's
Are,
interesting too, is like when you look at the outline, almost like if
yeah.
your mind wants to put it in a saucer. Like I'm
Yes.
trying to figure out if that's where
Hmm.
we got the idea of the flying saucer. Like, oh, maybe
Hmm.
because it looked like that. But with these lights, what I'm curious about, and I wonder if
Yeah.
there was anything ever written down about this, were people that were directly underneath
Hmm.
those lights, and did they have the capacity to like look up and
Yeah.
see something
Yeah. At
round
least
above them?
yeah, at least the military people were, and they said no, it wasn't round. It was a triangle shape.
Oh,
Yes.
okay. So they did
Yes.
see a triangular
Yes.
shape, though.
Yes. And that's exactly what they also said about
Oh,
the Phoenix Lights, is that was in a V formation. You know what I
how
mean?
bizarre, though, because it looks, yeah,
Yeah, you have no idea. You have no idea. But again, it just looks like a bunch of lights against the inky background on your iPhone. Like, they don't got
yeah,
night vision cameras. But when that one photo that I showed you of the triangle, the Mojave Triangle, it's you can see a little bit of an outline. You can see it. You know what I
yeah,
mean? You
yeah,
can see right here. It's a little triangle. Like, what is this?
right. You
You
can
know,
see it's a different color.
it's a difference. It's
Like
a different
it's
color.
darker.
You
Yeah,
know, yeah. And then this is like the base itself during the day.
yeah.
This is the photo at night.
Wow.
They got someone just your normal iPhone. Again, same thing. It's huge. It's huge.
Yeah.
It's a military base. These people are not drunk. It even popped up on this is the night vision. But these things popped up. These things happen. Like, why is this thing happening if there's nothing to be talking about? You know what I mean?
Right.
Oh, and this is David Grush. This is David
Okay,
Grush.
yeah. Let's
This is
share.
David Grush.
This is
Yes.
David Grush, who you were speaking about in the very
Yes.
beginning of this episode. So let's
Correct.
see. Okay, on my end, I'm not hearing anything.
Oh, wait a second. Oh, wait a second. Wait a second. Let me fix that. Let me
Okay.
fix that. Haha. It should sound. Oh, how about now?
That there
Oh
was
yeah, we're good.
that the UAP task force was not read into.
You are alleging that the US government has been concealing the existence on this planet of alien life.
I would couch it as non-human intelligence, NHI, like we would like to say in our language.
Why do you say that? Why do you say NHI?
I don't want to
non-human?
necessarily denote origin. I don't think we have all the data to say, oh, they're coming from a certain location, and I couch it as somebody who studied physics, where maybe they're coming from a different physical dimension, as described in quantum mechanics. We know there's extra dimensions due to high energy particle collisions, etc. And there's a theoretical framework to explain that. Yeah.
Just let me cut to the quick though. You're saying there is an intelligent species engaging with this planet.
Yes, that's potentially extraterrestrial. Yeah.
I speak for everybody sitting at home. That is a shock.
It was to me, and I had a lot of sleepless nights.
Grush says he's never personally seen non-human intelligence, but he's spoken to enough people directly involved in what he calls the program that he's convinced it's real.
I started out as a non-believer. I came to the problem as a hardcore physics guy, intel officer, so I have a, excuse my language, high factor. I was very methodical, interviewing people who didn't know each other, making sure this wasn't some kind of cover-up of some other program.
He says he pressed to gain direct access to this program, and that's when his trouble started. Grush claims his investigation was stymied, his requests for access rebuffed.
They shut the door in my face. They denied me access to these programs.
Soon after, he says, he endured reprisals and retaliation from above. He then reported that information to the Intelligence Community Inspector General. That's why he's filed this whistleblower complaint. He says that experience is why he decided to go public here and in a recent article written by Leslie Kane in The Debrief.
You're not being paid for this interview?
No, I'm not.
Why are you doing this?
It's a sense of service, you know. Call me a Boy Scout or whatever. It just, when I saw the kind of wrongdoing I did, I don't want to be 60, 70 years old in the future and have that, you know, coulda, shoulda, woulda kind of feeling where I could have made a difference. I do not want to live a life of regret.
You are saying to the human race, for the first time, an official intelligence representative at a high level from the US government is saying publicly, we are not alone.
We're definitely not alone. Absolutely, the data points empirically that we're not alone, yeah.
Amazing. Amazing. That's
I
just the
love it.
beginning.
I
Yeah.
love it.
He said, we are not alone. We are not alone.
Wow.
Yeah. And this is the official whistleblower complaint right here. This is what he entrusted
Wow.
to the Inspector General.
And this is
We-
what I'm really curious about is, you know, what's
Mhm.
detailed within the complaint. Because like you
So,
were saying, to complain about something, not just disclose something, is a whole
is-
other bag.
Exactly. You officially sent this to Congress and be like, I have issues, and they're as follows.
I love
that-
it. I'm so
Yeah,
glad.
no, seriously. Yeah, this is as follows. He's like, so number one, we have come before you to disclose on behalf of David Seagrush, who is currently a GS-15 employee at the National Geospatial Intelligence Agency, NGA. He is a veteran of the United States Air Force and has worked directly for or with several IC elements over the course of his lengthy and successful career. IC means intelligence community. He is currently cleared at TS/SCI level by the NGA and serves as the agency's senior technical advisor for unidentified aerial phenomenon analysis, UAP. He is also intelligence officer at the USAF Reserves. The Intelligence Community Inspector General, ICIG, against so many fucking acronyms, has jurisdiction to receive a report of urgent concern when the disclosure involves, among other things, a false statement to Congress or a willful withholding from Congress on an issue of material fact relating to the funding, administration, or operation of an intelligence activity. Moreover, jurisdiction exists when an action including personnel described blah, 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 blah. All this other stuff. And that's part two. Mr. Grush previously served as a fully cleared member of the United States government, UAP task force. He has direct knowledge of certain IC elements and has purposely and intentionally withheld and concealed UAP related classified information from Congress. He has had direct knowledge that this classified information has been withheld and or concealed by the involved IC intelligence community elements to be purposely and intentionally thwart legitimate congressional oversight of the UAP program. Flat out, he is saying there's somebody in the intelligence community lying to Congress.
And you know what's amazing about this is that
Mhm.
I just feel like we, in reference to our first episode that we did, where we briefly touched on a lot of these elements, is that we have pretty much gotten validation about Black op groups, because
Yes.
somebody who has that level of clearance and
Yep.
that much pull in this
Yep.
community is stating for a fact within this
Right.
document that
Yep.
there are people above him on a level that we might not be aware of
Yep.
that are withholding information. So
Yep.
I would just like to pat both of us on the back for
We told you so.
we freaking told all y'all.
We
for
told you
years.
so for years. And like that's just that. That's just the most recent news. You know what I mean? This guy is so very verifiable that it makes me sick. You know what I mean? Like, like what do you mean? As you cannot doubt this man's credentials. And if you
Yeah.
can't doubt his credentials, that means what he is saying has some truth to it.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that's the whole thing. Like, oh, you can doubt, oh, we might not have craft or whatever, or bodies. The fact that this guy is still lodging that complaint and saying to the first place, hey, Congress is being lied to by intelligence communities entities about these programs. because there's something there to be hidden, whether it's UFOs or not. There's something to be hidden, and he's saying, "Hey, I know about it. I've seen it. People have told me there's something that's being hidden. We need to open this up."
Right.
You
And
know?
for somebody of that level with who is in the UAP,
Yes.
like,
Task force. That's just
yeah,
his job.
he's in the task force. So in my mind, just for, easy visuals for people who like are pretty basic minded like myself, sometimes it's like if you want to think about Men in Black and like that
Yeah.
whole task force, you would assume that that would be the level that somebody would already have knowledge to, like, okay, if
Yep.
they're in that task force, like that's what they're doing if these things exist.
Yep.
So to state that him in that task force not having any personal contact with a non-human entity and
Mhm.
still filing this complaint is so huge
Oh yeah.
and very
yeah.
cool, for a lack of a better term right now. Like, this
Yeah, it's
is
awesome.
incredible.
It's
Yeah.
awesome. Oh yeah, this it goes more. There's more.
Oh,
So
please keep it going.
yeah, in part 4, he says in July of 2021, Mr. Grush confidently provided UAP-related classified information to the Department of Defense Inspector General. At the time, Mr. Grush communicated classified information about the improper withholding and/or concealment of classified material from the U.S. Congress by certain IC elements. Again, he's restating it. He
Yeah.
did this back in 2021. He already went to the Department of Defense and to the Inspector General saying, "Hey, look at this. You see this? See this paperwork? Look at this. Look at this." They've been holding it. Mr. Grush believes that his identity and his fact of UAP-related communications with the DoD has been disclosed to individuals, and that's what I was saying before earlier about like people have. He said he disclosed this information, and people are now retaliated. Since his protected disclosure to the Department of Defense, Mr. Grush has been subject to numerous adverse security clearance actions. These actions have unfairly and unjustifiably impugned his integrity.
Yeah, impugned. Yeah, impugned.
His integrity, character judgment, and professionalism, and mental health. While he
I
remains
bet.
security cleared, yeah, right. While he still has a security clearance, his compartmented access at a number of IC elements has been mysteriously and apparently without plausible explanation canceled, delayed, denied, and/or improperly obstructed. Yes, yes.
It's like a beautiful day for conspiracy theorists and
It is.
like logical lovers
It is.
to come together and celebrate and say that we can find common ground here.
Yep.
Because
Yep.
it's all right there.
It's all right there. It's all right there in writing. Like it's all in black and white. And like I was like thinking about this. I was like, how did I get so heavily into this? And I was like, oh yeah, because I was like, I've been really big fan of like the X-Files and stuff. And then like I didn't know having time. And then I was like, and I was like really going back, and I was like, no, there was this one particular thing I was watching. It was like I didn't even realize it was like Bob Lazar.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
The other thing about on like Netflix about him. And I was like, the same guy that did that documentary on Bob Lazar also is doing Weaponized, Jeremy Corbell. And then he also did this documentary called like The Hunt for the Skinwalker that came out in like 2015 before the Skin Hunt for the Skinwalker show that came out in like 2020, which is on his 4th season.
That guy's just on it. Good for that guy. I forgot his name.
He's on it. He's doing it. But like, Jeremy's like, he's so funny. Like this guy's got some megalomania issues. He's always just like, I know, and we know. I know these things that other people don't know. He says it like in every episode. Like, I have personal info. I'm friends with these guys. I'm like, relax, bud. Relax. We know that you're getting insider scoop.
Like for all of us nerds, though, it's like nerd clout chasing, where it's no, I'm friends with Gresh.
Yeah, he's like, no, I understand exactly. He's like, I get it. And I'm just like, okay, buddy, okay, like you're like, this.
We're
is
secretly jealous, but it's fine.
It's fine. But I shout out to him because like he really did do this like reporting well. But I will say that what got me hooked was like when I saw The Hunt for the Skinwalker back in like 2015, I was like, oh, this place sounds fascinating as hell. Mm-hmm. Like, why is all this weird stuff happening here? Like, why are these cattle mutilations happening? You know what I mean? The guy that did the reporting back on that back in the 90s, the early 2000s, George Knapp, he's been covering UFOs since the 80s. These guys have been doing this for 30 plus years. You know what I mean? People thought he was crazy.
George Knapp was also in the Bob Lazar.
He was
documentary as well.
Exactly. And that's how like him and Jeremy, I think, like not started becoming friends, but like from there, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like they've been working together for a while. So like this is like a long time coming. And again, they've known a lot of this information for a long time. And
Right.
now it's all slowly coming out. Like a lot of these names, like Jay Stratton is finally coming out. You know what I mean? David Grush's name is finally coming out. And they've known about it for years now. You know what I mean? So it's like, oh, pieces are falling
Wow.
into place. The reason why, another thing that makes me really like, I hate to say this about like History Channel shows, is like the Skinwalker show is so dramatized, right? It's so dramatized. It's such a drama. Like you watch it, you're like, they're just adding stuff in here like any good like reality TV show would.
Yeah.
The issue is that this is a real place,
Yeah.
and the issue is that the chief scientist that they have in there, I can't remember his name right now. I'm like blanking. The aerospace engineer, he worked for the UAP task force until just like last year. And he was on that show
Right.
for 3 seasons. And he was hired by the United States government to do so. Yeah, you hear what I'm saying, right?
Yeah.
He was
Yeah.
hired by the United States government to look into UFOs. And he's also at the Skinwalker Ranch where there's been numerous UFO cases, but yet it's on the History Channel and the show
Right.
is supposedly fake. What?
But that's how
What?
that's how they get us, right? Like, so
Yeah.
we like just enough interested, but just enough skeptical.
You're just enough skeptical, just enough.
Yeah, just
You know what I
enough.
mean? Like
And
there's
and
yeah, it's weird. It's weird. It's weird. And like I didn't know about it until like the 4th season of Skinwalker Ranch. And it was like it starts off with saying like, yeah, I had some information. I couldn't kept away from the team for the last several years. But yeah, I was hired as the UAP task force, the aeros like engineer, like the science guy. He was that. He was him.
right.
You know what I mean? And he was also working at the ranch at the same time.
Oh,
And the
and
reason
then
why he even got into it is because of the stuff at the ranch, because they had picked up this mysterious like 1.6 gigahertz like transmission signal that he brought to Congress because he thought it was a security clearance issue, and they brought him into the
oh,
UAP task force. You see what I'm saying? So it's like this whole thing, this how happened.
right.
From again, watch the Hunt for the Skinwalker Ranch. You're going to be like, this looks terrible. Wait, all this is verified?
Right. Right.
That's it. You're like, oh, wait, this looks sketchy, but it's verified. Oh, oh, you know what I mean?
This brings me back in my mind for some reason. And of course, I'm going to butcher the name. So I'm going to look this up. So I really give everybody what I can with this.
Mhm.
You know, the documentary Unacknowledged.
Yes.
Okay. So in Unacknowledged, there are 2 people in that documentary who I'm about to find right now because
Talking about
it's
Stephen Greer.
so Stephen Greer, I
Mhm.
would love to hear what he said since this
Yes.
formal complaint has been filed because there
Yeah.
are hit and miss complaints about Stephen Greer. Like some people say that
Mhm.
he's paid off and that this
Yeah.
is, he's like a part of some sort of psyop. I've heard that.
But
But at
that's
the
what they say
same
about Jeremy Corbell.
right. And I feel like that's who everybody, or that's what
Mhm.
everybody says about everyone at some point. It's like the validity, we're just unsure. So what are we going to do?
Mhm.
We're going to point the finger like, oh, well, maybe he's, like, why hasn't he given us more information? And that's kind of the thing too, is like as humans, we're like pissed
Mhm.
off when we're not
Yeah.
getting what we want. So it's like point the finger. But
Yeah.
anyway, the 2 people that I'm going to reference real quick is Richard Doughty
Mhm.
and I want to say her name is Gloria. Oh gosh, she's so famous in the UFO community. I feel so bad right now. Um, Richard Doughty and UFO.
Oh, the doctor's name that worked for the UAP task force that also worked at Skinwalker Ranch. His name is Dr. Travis Taylor. He's an astrophysicist.
Okay, amazing. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Mhm. For the audience,
Anyway,
just so
I'm
you
I'm
know.
gonna have to find the name of this woman because she is
Mhm.
amazing. I actually just saw her speak a few months back when I went to see George Norrie
Mhm.
speak and they did like a little UFO panel.
Yeah.
Anyway, there was a documentary that I found on Gaia probably 5 years ago. I
Mm.
want to say that. And it was something that came out maybe 15 years before Unacknowledged. Keep in
Yeah.
mind that both of the people I'm talking about, and again, I'll add names to this episode later so I don't butcher her name. She deserves credit.
Yeah.
Both of them 15 years prior to Unacknowledged, probably more. They had this documentary come out where Richard was disclosing that the government had paid him off to deliver a bunch of fake information about UFOs and extraterrestrials to people who were journalists and people who were quote unquote potentially gullible, and to share this story around. This woman, I want to call her Gloria, I think that's her name. She took that information, ran with it. She was a very very credible journalist. She had done so many things, and she was doing cow mutilations and cornfield
the crop circles.
Thank you. Crop circle research for years. So she took it. She went in and interviewed all sorts of different people to try and verify this information that Richard had apparently dropped almost into like a bucket of information. And he was like, oh yeah, it's true. But then he was going around in the background saying, oh no, it's not true. The government paid me off, blah, blah, blah. So there was this whole thing where people were going back up to Gloria and they were like, he admitted that this information is false. And she's like, no, throughout all of my research, I have found that this is incredibly credible, and et cetera, et cetera. So this whole idea is bringing me back to what you're talking about with Skinwalker Ranch, where it's like, was that almost like the precipice or the catalyst to us finding this information that, again, has been out for years and years and years, and it's just slowly trickling into the zeitgeist so that we're more comfortable with accepting it. And it's like, but how much longer are we going to do that? And is this a credible theory of mine, to where it's like, why is it so slow moving? It just seems bizarre that it's taking so long. But there are so many stories like this. But now we have true verified people who are not, who are within the government and have government clearance, that are coming out and saying the same things that we've been hearing. So it's this is just a really cool moment. And
it's a lot. It really is, because it's like, oh snap. If you just go back and watch like any, like, that's like a good UFO documentary. You know what I mean? I can't say there's many of them, because a lot of them are like really bad.
Yeah, Unacknowledged was a good one.
This is a good one. It is. Yeah. And again, it's one of those things where it's like, if you go back far enough and you watch, you're like, wait a second, I'm seeing the trajectory of like, this is when it started making sense. And like now, from like past documents, the Bob Lazar thing is my favorite, because now you can like confirm that Bob Lazar worked where he said he worked.
I know, and I've always loved Bob, because poor Bob was like just ridiculed forever, and he never changed his story. He was like, he didn't have any wild emotions. Like, he was just very much like, this is the fact, and I've been
hounded. If you believe me, you do. If you don't, great, I don't care.
Yeah, and he's like, I just want to live in my really nice, artistically decorated home in peace, which I loved his home. Those are just an aside, but I love that Bob is now probably getting that. We knew you were right, buddy.
Yeah, exactly. We knew you were right. Like, thanks, Bob. It's like, dang, man, we messed that up.
Also, to mention in the complaint real quick, because I forgot to mention this earlier when you were reading it, what is so cool to see as well is like all of these clearances and his information being mysteriously removed. That is exactly what happened to Bob Lazar. And now if you go back and look at past records of Bob Lazar, where he's like, I went to this high school, I went to this college, there's no record of him going to these schools or this college. But it's the same thing.
Yet he still got hired to work in these places.
Right.
It doesn't make it. That's impossible. That's impossible. You know what I mean? Like, you can't work at a classified government facility without having at any credentials. I don't care who you are. You got to have some. You know.
It was those bikes, Vanduncan. Those motorized powered bikes were enough, apparently, to get him in.
That was it. That was enough to get him in. And like, sure, for sure. But he still worked there. We now have people that say that he did. And like, oh great, y'all admitted that he worked there. You know what? That also gives validity to what he said.
Right.
You can't have both. You can't have both. You can't be like, he's a liar, but he did work there.
Oh, it's just so cool. Everything is like melting together right now, and it's all solidifying. I'm so happy.
It's so awesome. It's so awesome. And like it's silly. It's silly because like again, we could totally be like, we're making all this up. We're just gonna have fun here And it's like, I don't need to do any of this. I don't need to do any of this. This David Grush guy literally did it last week. Highest levels of of intelligence, and it's just like, hey, this happened.
Isn't it funny though how like we don't really know how to get into the mix like we probably both would like, but like we cannot let go of this over the years. It's like we're still listening, we're still watching.
Yeah. I'm watching, I'm listening, because like things are
know.
happening. Things are happening. I almost downloaded Twitter just because of this.
I've gotten rid of Twitter so many times on my phone in the last few months. I'm like, I can't keep doing this.
I can't keep going back to Twitter. I can't. I won't.
Don't
but
do
at
it.
the same
It's not.
time, I'm
It's
going
so
back.
bad. It's so bad.
I just
would
need to be updated on these news articles on like UFO. That's the only thing I need to know.
Yeah.
You know.
Real quick, I have a
Mm-hmm.
question for you specifically.
Yeah.
Now that all of this has come out,
Mm-hmm.
and then I want to touch on one more thing after this question, but
Yeah.
when you see all of this information coming out,
Mm-hmm.
we've got this document now, we've got this verified source saying
Yep.
that non-human intelligence exists.
Yep.
What do you think is next in disclosure from all that you've researched? What would you say is the next thing that either the public is going to find out about, or what is in your spidey senses that you could touch on, or are you not sure?
I think I want to say that the next thing that was going to happen is that they're going to confirm that David Grush is correct.
Ooh, publicly.
Yeah, 100%. Like they won't release any documents, but what they will say is that David Grush was not lying, and that he was correct, that there are places inside the United States government that have been that means that the intelligence community has been hiding from Congress. And I think they'll be like, yes, Congress is now going to go move forward looking for those X, Y, and Z, these crafts. I think that will be next, but that won't be for a while though. And if they do that, again, I don't think they'll release the documents. Like there'll be documents saying like this is what it is, and we might actually get the names, because the whole thing is that David Grush still has not given the actual program name. He just calls it the program. So exactly. So what we might get is the program name of the programs that are hiding these UFOs, these exotic materials, things of that nature. That is what I'm hoping. At the same time, I'm also hoping that if they do confirm that, they will actually confirm that there is a craft. You know what I mean? That we do have. And again, we won't see footage of that for a while. If they do confirm something like that, they'll just be like, we have it. The United States has indeed what's the word that they'll use? They're like, the United States has indeed have confirmed the reports through David Grush that there are indeed craft and exotic materials that we have found, blah, 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 blah. We do not know what they are, and that is our statement for the time. That'll be it. You know what I mean? They'll just walk away.
You're so right. And I feel like those documents will be uploaded without any type of public news, and then you have to just be online and wait.
Exactly. And nothing like just run for it. And on top of which, we're still going to see a bunch of more, sightings. We're still seeing sightings. Still people be on the lookout. Look up in the sky, folks. Look for sightings. Look for things.
That was my last question for you. Is did you research or look into this Vegas alien sighting that happened at the end of May?
Oh yes, I heard about this. I just saw today that NASA was saying that it was a meteor.
Oh, okay.
And I was
whatever.
Like, okay.
No meteor debris.
Yeah, no meteor debris. No one was able to find it, but it's a meteor for sure. I don't know if anybody knows this. Meteors are worth a lot of money, no matter how small. They're worth a lot of money because they come from outer space. So they have things that can be studied. They have materials that can't be found on Earth, X, Y, and Z.
Right.
So you're saying a meteor landed in somebody's backyard in Las Vegas, Nevada that no one has seen?
Okay.
Hey. Whether they saw aliens that came out afterwards, I don't know. I don't know if you heard about that.
I did, and what I'm thinking about too is I saw footage of the main callers who were the ones who said it was in my backyard.
Yeah.
I saw footage of them. There's nothing in their backyard, so unless
that's what I'm saying. What happened?
Searched for tiny little specks of a meteor, how do we? What?
Sorry, how did the spectrum? Did you see the door cam footage? Like where you could hear it, like the ring footage that
No,
you could
I
hear
saw I just saw the cop,
the
the
body cam
body
footage.
cam.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. No, there's ring footage that you can hear the meteor hitting the ground. You know what I mean? Like going, you can hear and you can see it across the sky. You know what I mean? If it did that, where's the crater?
Right. Like that meteors are
It's a meteor.
heavy.
It's heavy. It's gonna burn something. And there's nothing. There's
And
nothing.
with velocity too, right? I learned some science
Yeah,
growing
yeah,
up.
exactly. Like so, I'm saying like
There's no hole, not even
there's
like a
no hole.
pothole size.
There's no destruction on the property around,
Mm.
but there it's a meteor.
So I did hear as well that they
Mhm.
saw 8 to 9 foot
Yes.
non-humans walk
Yes.
out of something, which
Yes.
what of course, because this is like,
Mm-hmm.
why on earth every time
Mm-hmm.
do y'all say that and then the video cuts?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
it's like
Yeah. The video of the people talking about it. I gotta have to send it, see if I can find the link of it again. But yeah, you can hear them talking about it, and like you can tell this, but these people again, since the initial call to the police,
Mhm.
they have not answered any phones for interviews. They have not come to the door for any
Wow.
interviews. Yes, so it's like I'm thinking they're afraid, obviously, of being looking like crazy. They don't want the media hounding them, X, Y, and Z, or somebody
They
has
had a
come to the
little
door.
visit. They
They had
had a
a
little
little visit.
visit.
You know what I mean? They had a little visit from some government agency saying, "Shut the fuck up." You know what I mean? So, but we
Yeah.
don't know.
Yeah.
But
That's my
I
thought.
yeah, exactly. It could very well easily be that. But at the same time, though, I I'm not a scientist. Maybe it was the media that just happened to break up in the atmosphere. I don't think so. It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. It just doesn't make any sense. Things the math is not mathing. It's like the whole Chinese balloon fiasco. The math was not masking the waterfall of that. And like
Also, too, I love how just so quickly this just escapes the
Mhm.
minds of us all as like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, that balloon. What? Oh yeah, that
Yeah, remember
balloon.
the Chinese spy balloons? You know, they shot down like 4 of them. One of them was a balloon that we recovered. The other 3 didn't sound like balloons, and we didn't recover. Y'all remember that? That happened like a month and a half ago.
Right. That was not long ago.
It wasn't that long ago. Crazy. I also want to say like we somehow shot down alien craft,
I know.
which we haven't never been able to do before.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I do want to end on this. I know I keep saying that, but
Yeah.
how interesting.
Yeah.
Well, okay, maybe it was from the 1997 thing, because now
Mhm.
thinking back to the episodes of the X-Files when they had the triangular craft, you know, when
Yes.
they were putting all of that together in like season 8, season 9,
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
was triangular.
Yep.
And also, in episode 2, season 1, those
Mhm.
crafts were triangular. So
Yes.
I'm just a little bit, I
Yes,
just
there is an
really
episode.
wanted.
There is an episode of the X Files where there's a UFO over a military like Navy ship. Remember that?
And that was
And the guy sees it in the
92.
sky, and it looks just like the ones that happened like in 2017 with those green triangles. Those are the
Yeah.
exact same thing, and yet those people are like, "Oh no, it's just a lens thing." Blah blah blah, and it's like, dude, listen to what you are saying. You are discrediting all the military personnel that are there.
Right.
You cannot discredit military personnel while they are active and they are working. These are not drunks. These are not people that are not there. You can't discredit them. And like, and it's also like you're saying it. They proved it from like a Twitter debunker. You know what I mean? That's like another thing too. Like this is like the New York Post being like, yes, debunked. It was all debunked. It was like it was from Twitter. You debunked it from Twitter, New York Post. You look crazy.
What is up with that? What is up with like large named post
Easy.
companies trying to?
It's easy. It's easier that way. They don't want people to think that hard. You know what I mean? These are the same companies that's still getting the money from Amazon, but like they talk about how bad it is. Like
yeah.
Again, but that's a whole nother thing.
That will be for our part 2 episode.
Yeah.
Just ranting.
Yeah, just ranting. But again, this has been a crazy past couple of weeks in the UFO community.
Yeah. We had to do a follow-up from last year's.
We had to do a follow-up. This one with some more visuals and a lot more just fun things to think about, you know, folks. At the very end of the day, even if you don't believe in UFOs, believe in the people that believe in them.
Oh, I love that.
No, yeah, and like it's as cheesy as it sounds, but like you have to, because these people that are telling you about it are the ones that don't want anything to do with it. You know,
Yeah.
these are
I
the
know.
military people that want nothing to do with it. These are
This
not X-File fans.
this reminds me of Erica Badu's interview where she's like, all I've ever wanted are for the aliens to abduct me. I've
Yeah.
been putting myself out there. I don't think they like me. And it's like, it's so true. It
Yep.
happens to the people who really don't believe, have no interest in it. And, who's to say if that's on purpose or not, or
or what?
non-human intelligence can just sniff it out of somebody. Like,
Yeah.
you don't
Like
believe in me, so
we
I'll show it to
don't
you.
know. Yeah,
Yeah.
right. It's like we were not.
Yeah.
We'll show you, but we won't show you. And it's like, oh, okay.
See how it is.
Yeah, it's like, right. Fine. Not like I wanted to be abducted anyways.
Yeah.
That's great.
But thank
Yeah.
you, Vanduncan, for coming on and sharing all
Thank
of
you
this
for having me.
information. I know I have been enlightened and I'm so excited. I feel like all
Yeah.
tingly all over my body because
Nice.
it's like
Nice.
everything that I've ever read or thought about or watched is all kind of compressing together.
It's all true. It's all true. That's the problem. It's all true. And like, what do we do when we do this? You know what I mean? Like, what do we do now? Like,
Yeah.
how do we go forward? Like, do I just the
Not
same?
that we were on the front lines of this at all, but
Yeah.
I can imagine this is like when some detectives solve a case and like afterwards you're like,
Yeah.
well,
Yeah,
now what?
Now what? Now what? Yeah, no, because again, it's still the tip of the iceberg. There's still so much more going to happen in the next coming months that I'm just excited for. So just keep your lookout, folks. Just keep your lookout, because it might happen sooner than you expect, honestly.
You know what we should do too with the next release of information or something that comes out is have a Flipside or something UFO party or like watch party or something like
that. That'd be fun.
Right?
That'd be fun. Yeah.
Like a live take on the action. Okay.
Yeah.
Just plan for that. Okay. Plan ahead.
I'll plan for it.
All right.
Sounds
So
good.
if everybody wants to check you out, see what you do. Also, just by the way, Vanduncan Phillips is more than just a UFO correspondent.
I'm just a UFO correspondent on the flip side.
On the flip side.
I'm the UFO correspondent. That's what I want to be known as. I should have my own separate Instagram account dedicated to UFOs, but I don't. But if anybody has any questions or any things about UFOs, I have watched a bunch of videos, so I can debunk almost any UFO video now at this point. So if you ever want to send it my way, please look me up on Instagram at colorsboy, COLORSBOII on Instagram. I answer my DMs pretty frequently. I got a commercial coming out soon for her. Yeah. But other than that, I'm just here behind the desk researching for y'all. This has been a great time. Thank you, Alex. As always, thank you, Flipside. As always, just for letting me rant about UFOs.
This is a dream come true for me as well. So I appreciate you sharing space with me. And everybody, we will, of course, at some point be back with more information, giving you guys all the details of anything non-human intelligent related, because now I have a new sensitivity. I will not be saying alien, and I will be saying UAP to break the stigma. Yeah, we got to break the stigma, because who's to say, like in a couple years we might, it's a melting pot of cultures and dimensional planes.
Yes, absolutely.
So,
absolutely. Yep.
Kindness and acceptance.
Exactly. I sent you a link, Alex. Check it on your email.
Okay.
Watch the video.
More goodies for me. I'll share it. All right, everybody. Thank you guys again for tuning into the Flipside podcast, where we talk everything upside down and inside out. And today we went outside space. So love it. If you guys want to get in touch with Vanduncan, you know where to find him. I will put his notes and his contact into the show notes. And if you guys have any questions, please feel free to reach out to either one of us. We just love talking about this all day, every day. Stay tuned. We'll see you guys on the next episode of The Flipside. Check out the merch that is available now. And I think that is it. All right. I love you guys. Goodbye.
Bye.